Live from Genghis Cohen in Hollywood, it's the Nighttime Show with your host, Stephen Kramer Glickman. Tonight, we have our head writer, Matt Walker. I'm the voice of the Nighttime Show, Mike Black. Our very special guest, Stephen Keaton on Family Ties, Burt Gummer in Tremors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and coming soon 6, Michael Gross. And now the stuntman for all the earthworms in all of those movies, Stephen Kramer Glickman!
Yeah! Great job, Mike Black. We missed you. I missed you guys.
You got your job back.
This is a wonderful treat for us. Michael Gross is here. Michael, it's such an honor to have you here. And,
it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We're sitting in a Chinese restaurant.
Here we are at Genghis Cohen's.
It's Genghis Cohen's. It used to be, I think, a kosher Chinese restaurant. Now it's just a regular Chinese restaurant. Right. But it's still a very good. It's one of my favorite places, and so now we're recording.
The name says it all. That's the great part about it. You know what you're in for.
You know what you're in for.
It is a wonderful name, and this is my old neighborhood, and it was.
Oh, really?
I love plays on words anyway. So this is great.
Did you live in this neighborhood when you were working at Paramount?
I moved out to Los Angeles in 1982 to do Family Ties. I was hired out of New York City.
Amazing.
And
before that, you were doing live theater on Broadway. Yes.
Almost. Exclusively.
Really?
Live theater, on and off Broadway. I had done, let's say, a couple of television movies.
Sure.
One pilot that went nowhere.
We're going to talk about those.
But by and large, my life was the theater in those days, and I almost to the exclusion of everything else. And I loved it, and those were great days, but that was a long time ago now. So this is my first neighborhood, the Fairfax district of Hollywood. My first neighborhood for the first 2 years I lived in Los Angeles.
I love it. Where did you grow up?
I'm a Chicagoan.
Really?
Chicagoan, so I'm mighty happy about them Cubs.
Hey!
Yeah. You know, I love the city. I go back with a great deal of frequency. I have a sister there. I have cousins. I have grammar school and high school friends with whom I still keep in touch. And when the Cubs won last year, like a lot of people, I was ecstatic. You know, this is the thing that was never supposed to happen. You know, it was like the joke. And I said, oh my God, I wish I had a Cubby flag,
the W.
concession outside every Chicagoland cemetery. Because you knew people were going to be decorating their fathers and their grandfathers' graves with Cubs flags.
Oh, my God.
Because the old man and the old man's old man had never seen the Cubs win. And this was historic. And I thought, I should have got thousands of Cubs flags and sold them in front of the cemetery.
Cornered the cemetery market.
Yeah, exactly.
The impresario of Cubs flags for gravestones.
Cubs flags for graves. Yeah.
CubsFlagsForGraves.com. So check if it's registered.
There we go.
It's just going to keep getting bigger.
CubsFlagsForGraves.com.
I'm going to look it up.
See if it's a thing, Matt. See if it's a thing, because if it isn't, please register that and we'll make a little thing for Michael.
You know what? Register tasteful flags.
Tasteful flags.
Cubs
flags.
Yeah, just make same URL. Just,
that's spoken like a true Irish
Catholic. It's not registered.
Too.
We can get it right now. We can get that today.
Who would have guessed it wouldn't be registered?
Right.
You know?
I mean, come on.
No. Well, grab it.
Get it. No. Get it. We'll make millions. We'll make tens of dollars.
I'm very familiar with cemeteries because my mother was Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay, and their idea of a good time on a Sunday is to go to a cemetery, to all the gravestones, and wash them. You know, we'd go with soap and water and brushes and rags, and that's what Irish Catholics do for fun. It's like, someday I'm going to be there right next to Grandpa there.
Oh, my God.
You'll wash my stone.
That's right.
Did you go and do that when you were a kid? Did you see your parents
I not only did that when I was a kid. Last summer when I went back to visit, I was back in Chicago and visited. I noticed my grandfather's my grandmother's and my aunt's gravestones, headstones were all grown over. So I went and got some clippers.
Really?
Yeah, I went.
Yeah.
This is what Irish Catholics do. I went and
Wow.
got some clippers, and I took before and after pictures. I wish this were television, and I'd show them to you.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well,
Why
and
do they charge
you
so
knew
much
they wouldn't have
for-
liked it.
You know, the mowers just don't do a good job. What can I say?
Yeah, I was
you
like,
know?
why do they charge you so much if they're not going to do that for you? I
You
think it's part of the rent.
can't get good cemetery help
You
anymore.
can't do it. Come
Once
on.
upon a time,
There was a time where it was great. and
half
now-
of them probably aren't even Catholic anymore
Yeah.
in All Saints Cemetery. Anyway,
That's amazing.
so yeah, I went back and trimmed them up a little bit.
Do you have a?
I'd have sent those pictures to them, to
neaten
the
them up.
managers.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
They go. This is what it's supposed to look like.
I got
Just in
have
case.
you got a complaint box?
Cubs flags and hedge trimmers. Cemeteries.com.
Yes.
Yeah, full service. Let's make the business.
That's
full
what we
service.
do. We say a few prayers. We trim and clean them and go home and
Or if it's grown
drink
over,
a beer.
we just
Sure. Of
cut a nice
course.
C into the
Yeah.
into the overgrowth.
Get the
Did you
Cubs
have
logo into it.
Do you have brothers and sisters, or did you have?
I have two
brothers?
sisters.
Yep.
One who still lives in Chicago, right downtown, and one sister. Oh, here's a plug for my sister Mary Gross, who for 4 years was on Saturday Night Live.
Oh my God.
In the Eddie Murphy days.
I know who Mary Gross is.
Mary
of course.
Gross.
Yeah, played,
Mary played
Alfalfa.
Alfalfa. She played Marilyn Monroe. She had some just a whole bunch of things. Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Oh yeah, she was a lot of
that was
fun
the
on that
when
show.
Joe Piscopo, Eddie Murphy, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Thank you
Sure.
very much. They were all
Yeah.
there together, and so that's my sister. We have two goofy people in the family.
Wow. What were your parents funny people at all, or were
My
you,
they were odd.
yeah?
Yeah.
How
So
How
Funny
so?
how?
There you go. Well, no, my mother was a character. She was the person who would at any family party go into somebody else's closet, come out dressed in silly clothes.
What? Really?
Oh yeah, she was afraid of nothing. I was, of course, hiding. Like, why can't she be a normal mother? Hiding with my father, as a matter of fact. And but she had a kind of fearlessness. She was a clown. She was
Wow.
yeah. She was the pratfall mom. She was not sophisticated humor. She was Soupy Sales, a female Soupy Sales, basically pies
Oh,
in the
yeah.
face.
That's-
That was Ma.
That's wonderful.
That was Ma, and she was a frustrated entertainer herself. The work never got done in the house because I could come in at any given time into the kitchen and find Mom dancing with the mop to a song on the radio. It's like, Ma, it's 9:00 and we have dinner. She was,
Yeah.
you know. If
So
there was
did
a
she
good-
inspire those commercials? Like they had those ones where they had like Fred Astaire dancing with a vacuum cleaner or
that
whatever it was?
That was my ma.
Yeah.
That was my ma.
God, it's so
the work stopped. If there
Could
was
be
something
cleaning
great,
tombstones right now. She's dancing.
My mom is always reminds me that she's a dirtier comic than me. Like
she really
she
is.
just said to me
is.
today, as I was sitting at the table, I was on the phone with her, and she said, "Stephen, don't forget, it's the Passover is coming, so make sure to."
That's your mom voice
I
now?
don't know what it is. How do I do my mom? Stephen.
That's your
that's
mom
my
voice.
mom voice.
Yeah.
She goes,
That's your mom.
Stephen. It's been a weird voice day. She was like, Stephen, don't forget to clean out all the bread and everything that rises. Nothing that can rise because it's Passover coming up on Monday. So make sure you clean everything out. And I go, all right, no problem. She goes, oh yeah, nothing that rises can be in the house. So, when
think
your
we know where this
girlfriend's
is going.
around,
Right.
She
keep
said
it.
that?
Yeah, she goes, when your girlfriend's around, keep it in your pants. And I was like, Mom, come on.
Mom, you're on speakerphone.
Yeah.
Please.
The priest is here, Mom. Yeah, that's just,
Woo.
Yeah,
I think she'd be more upset if there was a priest there.
she takes
Probably.
yeah, she takes no prisoners. Does
She really doesn't. She really doesn't. What about your dad? What was your dad like?
My dad was the shy, retiring type.
Yeah.
He was the Mort Saul to her, to her Lucy Ricardo, Soupy Sales. He very dry, sense of humor, but a great sense of humor. I mean,
That's a very Irish Catholic thing as well.
well, yeah. He was just very subdued and very, He had quick ones, but it was all verbal, his comedy, and but a very clever guy, very bright guy. And not a day goes by that I don't miss both of them.
Oh man!
And they're just they were good people.
Yeah, no, you had
nutty. I mean, they were both OCD. Mom was a hoarder in some ways, and Dad, there were so many little things that were ritualized in his life. And my wife goes, "Why are you doing that?" I say, "I come by it honestly. My father was this way too." So get off my case.
So with you,
you've been flossing for 45 minutes.
Oh my God!
Yes, but I'm going to die with these teeth. It's ridiculous stuff like that.
So with your mom being a performer and your sister obviously getting into comedy. And you being out of Chicago, did you work in Second City at all? Or
my sister worked in Second City.
Okay.
Sister Mary started out just taking some acting classes in college, and one thing led to another. She winds up taking some improvisational with his improvisational troupe, Passing the Hat in John Barleycorn's bar at seriously, that's the name of it in Chicago.
Wow!
And next thing you know, she winds up at Second City and got to know a lot of people there. And she was there for some years, and it was actually she worked with a whole bunch of people there. It was John Belushi who recommended her to SNL.
Wow!
And she didn't even have to audition. They said Belushi said she's crazy, she's nuts, she's wonderful. Take her. And they took her.
Oh my God!
And she was for 4 years on SNL.
Oh my God!
That was about, I'm going to guess, about 1980 to 1984 or something. Those years.
Oh wow! That's amazing.
Well, that was an amazing time for theater in Chicago too. Wasn't it?
It was, and I left before theater became the hallmark it was in Chicago.
Okay.
I went out east just about that time that some of the off-loop theater was forming. The Steppenwolf and things did not exist at the time.
Sure. Were there actors that you knew from back home that were you doing any theater when you were?
You know, I just in college, I was at the University of Illinois at Chicago. Frankly, we couldn't afford room and board downstate.
Yeah, right.
Sure. Seriously, we couldn't
go to Champaign?
Yes, I used to go visit friends down there from time to time, but basically I went to school on the subway and bus every day. That's
nice.
That was I lived at home with the parents, and fortunately, we all got along. And so I was not really a member, except for the school. I wasn't really a member of the. Didn't do much outside of school, and then went immediately to Yale Drama School.
Wow!
After the University of Illinois, so went out there immediately after undergrad. So never became a part of the Chicago off-loop theater movement.
How was Yale Drama School? My God,
it was great. I mean, it varies at any given time. Faculties change and administrations change. It's generally speaking always been a good quality school. It was a 3-year program, and for a kid from the northwest side of Chicago, a basically working-class neighborhood, to even imagine going to an Ivy League school was incredible. What a dream come true. And I don't think I appreciated it as much as I mean, I did at some points. I thought, I can't, it pinched me, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really wraps their head around college when they're doing it.
You're too busy.
As appreciative as you should be about,
Yeah, but
experience
I was back there last year again to visit some friends, and I just to take the architectural tour of that campus is extraordinary.
I can only imagine.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be, and a great opportunity. And like most youth is wasted on the young. That was wasted on me. I was just working too hard to fully appreciate it. You're just putting one foot in front of the other.
But
I went to school with great people.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver was a year behind me.
Oh my God.
So I knew Sigourney there. Meryl Streep was a year or two behind me. I forget. But we knew each other back then.
Sure.
And, it's some good people came through there, and a lot of great actors who never became as famous as Meryl, or great actors who are just consistently working actors.
Yeah.
I will see one of them this coming weekend in a local play.
I love
people
that.
who have never stopped working.
Yeah.
They just never became household names.
Is that play going to be running for a while, or is it just?
The play I'm seeing is a play at A Noise Within. out in Pasadena, California, and it's Eugene O'Neill's Wilderness.
Oh, wow. Oh, I love that play. That's great.
I have a couple friends in that, one of whom was a classmate at Yale.
Oh, my God, that's amazing.
That just keeps ticking along.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I think we have a lot of young actors that listen to the show, and like students and stuff that are in college that listen to podcasts and stuff like this. And I think something that is important for them to know too is that training of like the reading and the training and the work. At the time, it becomes like your building blocks, so that when you get out into the world and you're doing movies and you're doing TV shows, like it's part of who you are already.
That's a good point.
Or in today's Hollywood, you could just make a sex tape and then
oh God,
get your reality show.
So either,
but nobody wants to see my sex tape. I keep offering it,
Michael.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can get a buyer
With the internet. Okay.
Yeah, if you
We can
find
find
that your
someone.
sex tape lacks pizzazz, go with theatrical training. Go with traditional training.
Right? Exactly. What you need is a background in Shakespeare.
Something to fall back on, basically.
No, I really do recommend that because people will. It is something to fall back on. And I'll tell you something too. The last you mentioned, Mike, the announcer, was kind enough to mention Tremors in the intro.
Yeah.
There have been a number of times when I've talked with people at Universal who are producing the next Tremors, and they say we'd rather look for talent where in the UK or some of these other places. And I go, well, you're gonna ship them a long way anyway. Why the UK? They said the actors have better training. We can ask more of them because they have, in general, more tools in their kit, so to speak of. In other words, you say, well, that's a slotted screwdriver. I need a Phillips. I got a Phillips. I got 5 sizes of Phillips screwdriver. I mean, it's that analogy is the same.
Yeah.
So you may say, well, I don't intend to do Shakespeare or Marlowe or Webster or whatever, restoration comedy. Having done that, you've just got more tools at your disposal.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying. So the
Absolutely.
experience will never do you wrong because whatever you're doing, you're breaking down a character, you're making choices, you're making artistic choices as an actor, and it will inform your work in some way.
And actors always think that they're auditioning when you're auditioning for a series, like you don't know what episode 5 is going to be. You don't know if on episode 7
you very rarely get to choose your roles as an actor.
Yeah, and you don't know like if they happen to need you to sing a song or if they need you to be able to do a scene from Romeo and Juliet, or if you, and it's like if you have those skills already in your toolbox, then when you get the opportunity, you're able to knock it out of the park. And
Right. I think that's true. That training will never do you wrong. And again, I think it's helping you in the marketplace if you take pains to get great training. And that means, how many English people do you see come over here and they have amazing American Southern accents?
Yeah.
Or other sort of,
Oh, yeah.
Well, we should be doing that with them. You know what I mean?
Oh,
we
sure.
should have that same aptitude. In some cases, it's not taught. So you're making yourself more marketable. Let's just put it that way. The more training you have.
I think Michael just made a case for me never working in Hollywood.
Why?
I can't do
would you say
any
that?
voices. This is the only voice I can do. This is it.
You can do
I don't have
this
any voices.
and Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
Well,
Or
I
you just look
like Beavis.
from Beavis.
I don't
That-
do the
that
voice
might
well.
be it.
Yeah.
Hey, so I as always, we always have Fireball whiskey with us whenever we tape an episode of our show. We had the Kaplan twins on. We
Yeah.
gave them a bottle. We give bottles away a lot to people. Sometimes
It's good
when
stuff. People like it.
People love that stuff. I actually have a bottle with me right here, and I'm gonna drink some of it. But if you listen when I open the top of this bottle, you can hear in the bottle. You can hear the Fireball whiskey talking, and it's
You can't hear Fireball
yes.
talking.
Oh, you totally can. Hang on, let me
Right.
take the lid off. Ready?
Yoga, the man. I could be the man.
There
I'm
he
gonna
is.
be the man today.
That's the
We're
sound.
gonna have fun.
That's the sound
Fireball-
of the Fireball
Yeah.
whiskey inside
It's
the
like
bottle.
it's like encouraging you.
It does. Hey there, Fireball whiskey.
Hey man,
Hey, I'm so excited. I can't wait to drink you.
Man, stick it. Get rid of all this small talk. Just drink me already so I can have some fun in your
All
tummy,
right,
bro.
get in my tummy. Get in my tummy.
Well, make it happen. Oh, yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah. Oh. How is it down there?
Oh, my goodness, dude. It's so cool down here, but, like, dude, what the hell did you eat for lunch?
Oh.
Oh, my God.
I
It
mean-
smells like dog shit down here, bro.
Oh well, hopefully that Fireball whiskey will make things smell just a little bit better in there.
I can't, I'm going to have to hang out in your stomach for a while and make it smell good. So,
Yeah, try.
keep drinking that shit, bro.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna drink a little bit more. Here we go.
Here
A
we
little
go,
more.
my friends. Yeah, we're having a party in Steven's stomach.
Drown out these
It's
horrible
awesome.
choices I've made.
Woo!
Oh, Fireball whiskey. Fireball, it makes you feel good and it makes your stomach smell better. All right, back to the show. Let's talk about early credits. Early credits.
Is that a new segment?
That's my new
Our new
segment. Early credits
Brought to you by Fireball Whiskey.
Brought to you by Fireball Whiskey. This is a gift from Michael Gross. We brought you a bottle of Fireball Whiskey. It's Fireball. It's
delicious.
cinnamon. It's absolutely delicious. Are you?
This is serious.
It's
Yes.
yours.
Yeah.
It's
yours.
a real thing.
It's absolutely the most delicious whiskey, and if you drink it,
For the young Irish Catholic boy. It's all
Magic.
you need for the weekend.
I'm looking at the back of the label, and it's got a toll-free number on it.
yes,
To-
it really
to
does.
what? Complain when you go blind
Yeah.
or poisoned by
or
this
to
whiskey?
brag,
All
one of the
right.
two.
Yeah, or to brag about all the women
A
that
fiery
you slept
kick
with while
of
drinking
red
it.
hot cinnamon. Woo! All
It's
right.
good stuff.
It's pretty
Tastes like
solid.
heaven, burns like hell.
That's
All
it.
right.
That's it, baby. It's all you. That's yours.
Let's do it.
Where I'm
Great
down.
on ice
I'm
cream.
in. I'm in.
Oh,
We'll go get
yeah.
you some ice. Oh
I
my
didn't even think
god.
about
We've actually tried it on waffles.
We did. We
really?
had it on waffles on the show with Johnny
that's right.
Pemberton,
Yes.
and then we threw waffles at the audience.
Why does that not surprise me?
It's just really a thing that happens, Michael. All right, let's talk. First credit on IMDb, which is my favorite way of doing this, just because.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
because
who
it's
knows?
just
Something
their
I probably
lives.
don't remember.
Who knows what's on there?
It wasn't a
you've-
gory Halloween, was it?
No, it's a movie called A Girl Named Sooner.
Oh, you're right. That goes way back.
this
in
is
time.
way
Can
back.
I tell you how lucky I was? Can
Please.
I tell you how
Please.
lucky I've been?
Please.
I was working at the Actors Theater of Louisville,
Yep.
a great resident company in Louisville, Kentucky. I was one of their core resident company members, of which they had about, let's say maybe they had about 6 or 8 or 10 people who were there pretty much all season, and for 9 months. And during the spring of, I think this was 74, I heard they were looking. There was a 20th Century Fox television movie who was coming, being directed by Delbert Mann. Delbert Mann. Oh, I wish I could remember his credits now. One of you get on Google
I'll
quickly.
find it.
And he's all over the place. He's a great Hollywood director. Anyway, here was it was my very first film. I went and auditioned for this film. They were going to be nearby in southern Indiana filming. Richard Crenna,
Wow.
Lee Remick, Don Murray,
Oh my god.
Anne Francis, Cloris Leachman.
Oh my god.
I got the role, played opposite Cloris Leachman, met Miss Remick and Dick Crenna and Don Murray and Anne Francis, who've been in everything.
Oh yeah.
Great Hollywood stuff in the 40s and the 50s, and Delbert was the kindest gentleman in the world.
Yeah, he was a really incredible a director and producer, but he best known for his work as the director of Marty.
Won his Oscar for that.
Exactly.
Yep,
exactly.
He won the Oscar for that,
Yeah,
right? Yep.
right.
Huge.
Yeah,
huge.
right. With Ernest Borgnine.
The Borgnine.
And but he just did a hell of a lot of Hollywood stuff back in the day, and Delbert was a real gent. And this you're gonna laugh about this because I played what? An undertaker. We're back in the cemetery again.
Oh God, again?
I played an undertaker who was it was back in the 1920s, moonshine. And I was selling hooch to Cloris Leach.
Oh my God!
Whole thing. Oh no, she was selling me her stuff. That's it, and I was peddling it for her.
Okay.
And something like that. So I get to drive a 1935 Packard hearse.
Nice.
And anyway, it was great. And
my
that was a
God.
television
So you
film.
always had a side business as an entertainer.
yeah, I know.
If it's not Cubs
There
flags,
you go.
It's hooch.
I missed my calling, all right?
In '84, you got to do one of those fun beach movies, Summer Fantasy.
Stop. Summer Fantasy.
This is
the name alone.
Julian Summer Fantasy.
Who's in that?
Julian Phillips, Ted Shackford.
Ted Shackelford, yeah.
Shackelford, sorry about that.
Julianne
Yeah.
Phillips, a real sweetheart. And, we played, I forget.
All sorts of fun. You want to hear the plot? I'll tell you the plot.
Sure, go ahead.
After
I've forgotten
graduating, after graduating high school, Carrie needs something to do for the summer. She goes to lifeguard tryouts and gets the job. In the hot Los Angeles summer, she will fall desperately in love with a much older lifeguard. And the poster is like, it's one of those posters.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
awesome.
I'm loving
look
this.
at this Summer Fantasy,
Some of
guys.
those
You gotta
artwork
look it up.
posters. Look
It's
it up
like-
on IMDb.
Oh, it's
That
like
was one of Julian Phillips' first pieces of work, and Ted Shackelford. That was
God, I love that kind of
that's
stuff.
when they were turning out a lot of movies of the week.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe it was for NBC, and I was newly minted as an NBC person on Family Ties in 1984, and so they were always saying, "Hey, here's a role for you. Want to do this?" And it was summer work on the when you were on hiatus from the series, and it was great. I did a slew of those.
I love that. Now we have to talk about before we get into Tremors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course now 6. We have to talk about Family Ties. Now, I told you when you came in, Mike. I don't know if you know the story, but I'll make this very short and very quick. I got to go with my grandmother to the Paramount Studios when I was 8 years old, 1987. And we went into the commissary, and we were sitting in the commissary having lunch. And the guy, the old guy from Willow, the little
Billy Barty.
Billy Barty was sitting
Very
at the.
good. Very
Thank you,
good.
buddy. He was sitting at a nearby table, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Billy Barty." And then I just stopped dead. I look straight across from us, and Michael Gross is sitting there having lunch with an agent or a producer. And I was like, "It's Michael Gross from Family Ties." And we were like, I was losing my mind as a kid. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe he's here.
What really attractive was the fact that I was blowing a cherry tomato out my nose. I was never very good at table. They could dress me up, but they couldn't take me out. How did they let him in here?
I don't
This
know.
is the good side of the
That
commissary.
commissary was so nice too. It was very pretty. It was this two level place, and weirdly enough, and I did not tell you this, but this is so we ended up going to the set of Family Ties, and then we got to go and watch a little bit of like a rehearsal or a taping, and there wasn't a lot of people sitting in the audience, so it wasn't during like a part where they had brought in. Did you guys have a live studio audience for the show?
We did have a live studio audience on Friday nights.
Okay, so
during the rehearsal week, it was not uncommon for people who were on studio tours to come in a few at a time, maybe half a dozen, maybe 8 or 10 at the most.
that sounds about right.
And watch rehearsals.
Yeah, so we got to go in for Day by Day, which was a show with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
On the lot also. We got to
Yes,
go to
right.
that.
It was about a daycare center.
I believe so. Yeah,
It was.
And then we went to your set and we got to watch you guys rehearse, and I'm sitting there and Tina Yothers came up to me and was like, "Oh, you're so cute. Look at you. You're adorable." And I was like,
She was looking for a date.
"Oh, very possible."
She liked younger men.
Oh my God.
You were 8 at the time.
I was
right?
8, yes. And she was like, "Oh, you're so sweet." Now she was like, "Maybe someday you'll be on the show." And I was like, "I'm going to be on the show." And she was like, "No, I'm saying that like someday maybe you could act on a show like this." And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be on Family Ties." And she was like, "That's not what I'm saying." And then I went home and told every single person at school, "I'm going to be on Family Ties, everybody. Tina Yothers said so." And it was a huge deal for me. But aside from that, this is the other weird part of that story, is that I'm sitting at the table with my whole family, and I have to tell this because there's no other time I'll be able to tell the story.
Right.
Sitting at the table, Michael Gross sitting across from us, having lunch, Billy Barty over here. And my mom turns to me and she goes, get up and go to the bathroom right now. Get up and go to the bathroom right now. Go. And I go, "Why?" She goes, "Trust me, go to the bathroom." And I go, "All right." I get up, I walk into the bathroom. I'm 8, okay?
Yeah.
I walk to the urinal, and I'm standing next to some guy who's at the next urinal, and I look up at the guy, and it's Eddie Murphy.
Oh my God!
Oh, for goodness sake!
And I go, and and I go, you're Eddie Murphy, and he goes, does the laugh, right? And then he goes, don't pee on my shoes, kid, or whatever. Like said that to me, and I go, I'm such a big fan. I love all of your movies, and he goes, all right, well, come back to my trailer, bring your family, and you guys can get some autographs. And he took our entire of like 9 of us, our entire family, back to his trailer, and he signed autographs for every single one.
When your grandmother tells you to go to the bathroom,
go
to the
bathroom. Yes. All right.
Don't argue with Granny.
Tell me about.
Did your mom ever tell you what you had to do with Eddie Murphy to get him to do that for you?
Oh
part
man.
Of the story?
She may have made some sex with him.
I'm going to tell
Had it
you.
been Cosby, it'd be a different story altogether.
Very different.
God. Oh,
Here, kid, drink this. I'm going to tell you a urinal story.
Please.
I've got tons of them.
Yes. Urinal story.
No, when I first went to Paramount Studios, I was a theater guy. I was used to doing. Even the greatest Broadway theaters were old, and decrepit, and plaster peeling off the dressing room walls and all this sort of stuff. I mean, they were built a long time ago. So theater was decidedly not as elegant as television and film.
Yeah.
So I get to Paramount, and our dressing room area, there's a bathroom down the hall, and I go into the bathroom area, and there's a urinal, a regular size urinal, and there's one very close to the floor, or one of these lower urinals. Well, I since learned that they had to do with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Because Billy Barty was there.
Billy Barty was there.
Yeah, sure.
People, shorter people, people in wheelchairs can use those urinals. I didn't know that at the time. I don't know why I'd missed it. Maybe because New York, where I'd spent most of my time, was largely non-compliant with that.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Right. So all I knew was on the next studio was Taxi. Taxi was there, and I went, "Oh my God, they have built a urinal for Danny DeVito." I just assumed when you get to be a TV star, they will lower the urinal for you. If you're Danny DeVito, yeah. So. Yeah. That's how stupid I was, let's be honest.
Sure.
But Taxi was on the very next soundstage, and so there was Danny DeVito and Judd Hirsch and the great cast of Taxi, and I thought, oh, that's power. They built him a urinal. Whoa.
Oh, my God. That's amazing.
How much did that tempt you when you were getting your contract for Family Ties to have your own customized
urinal?
I want my urinal raised.
Yeah, there we go. I'm going to get the Danny DeVito.
Yeah. But I don't want it to raise during Passover. Don't raise it during Passover.
Oh, my Lord. All right, so tell me how Family Ties came to be for you. How did this happen?
All right, I'll tell you. Yeah, I was very fortunate, extremely fortunate. I had auditioned for maybe one or two other. I was in New York. This was 1984. I had auditioned. I'd done one other pilot maybe a year before that went nowhere. Pilot for NBC, and I think it had great possibilities, but didn't work out. I had auditioned for one other pilot at the time, which was St. Elsewhere. Do you remember St. Elsewhere?
Great show.
Oh, my God, of course.
Yeah, I think it ran for about 3 seasons.
Yeah, we had Jerry Burns was on.
Yeah, it was
Jerry
the
Burns was on
weirdest
the
ending
show.
to a show ever.
Yeah,
Wonderful show.
It put most of NBC inside that kid's head.
Yeah.
It was like all those shows were like
Do you
in his
remember
imagination.
the finale of the show?
I didn't know.
So yeah, at the end of the show, you find out that there's like a child who's been like sort of in a coma, or there's something weird with him, and he's like looking at this snow globe that has St. Elsewhere Hospital, and he's been imagining the show his entire time. Except they had so many crossovers with other NBC shows with St. Elsewhere that therefore means that like that whole run of NBC shows were all inside this kid's mind. If you have continuity.
That.
Yeah,
But that was a wonderful show in its time, and
very good show. Launched Howie Mandel.
I auditioned for that show several times,
Wow.
and they liked what I did. But I'll be honest with you, I finally said, "Why didn't it work out?" to the casting director, who had been a good friend of mine. She said, "Michael, your work was wonderful, but this guy." This was a character, a doctor who was always hitting on women. He was going into the broom closet with nurses. He was the womanizer, and he was always getting these women. And she said, Michael, I hate to tell you this.
You're not a Lothario.
They honestly felt as if I wasn't good looking enough.
Wow.
Seriously. They said, my looks are offbeat. Come on, let's face it. I'm not, I'll tell you the person who was cast in that role. The person who was cast in that role was David Burney.
Mm-hmm.
And in that same year, I wound up playing opposite David Burney's wife, Meredith Baxter Burney. On Family
Wow.
I was good enough for her.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
No, so that same year, having
my
failed
God.
to get
What
on...
a bizarre
Isn't that weird that
situation.
having failed to get on St. Elsewhere, the role I was looking for was by very handsome David Burney, and I wound up being cast as David Burney's wife's husband in Family Ties. How do you like
Awesome.
Oh, that is
so bizarre.
I
It's a weird
love
little
it.
thing.
That kind of happened to you, Steven.
Yeah?
When you got that breakdown that one time, didn't you get one that said, like, it was like, we need like a fat loser, and they thought of you for the role? I forget exactly what it said on there.
Thanks for reminding
Or
me.
you got one that was like horrible.
Now it's just
Oh,
called
no,
the
no.
Stephen Glickman type.
Yeah, we're looking for a
Steven
Glickman
Glickman
type.
type?
I got an audition for Fat Ugly Guy. That's
Fat
what,
Ugly
that was
Guy.
the name of the
That was the name of
character.
the character, Fat
Ugly Guy. And then I got there, and they go, you're not ugly enough.
Yeah.
I was like, well, thanks for that. Somehow that's.
But I need the job.
Yeah.
I can play ugly.
Yeah, I can play ugly. Let me play ugly.
You remember those MSN butterfly commercials where it was like
Yeah.
guys dressed up like the butterfly?
Sure.
I got sent a breakdown from my commercial agent saying they need a fat, lazy butterfly. And I was like, I can do that. And so I show up, and I guess they got their wires crossed, but they were like, so, Michael, we have you here for the construction worker? I was like, no, I'm a fat, lazy butterfly. And they were like, no, we have you down as construction. I was like, look, call whoever you need to call. I know me, and I know this type of commercial. I'm the before. Most of the time, I'm a fat, lazy butterfly, so why don't you just go get my wings and let's do this?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we have you for a construction worker. And
Hilarious.
The MSN people came out and were like, no, we really would want you for the construction worker. I was like, all right, but I'm telling you,
All right.
I'm a fat, lazy
Weird.
butterfly.
I'm a
Now,
lazy.
did you get it? And
I
did
didn't
you
get it.
wind up playing the construction worker with wings?
No, I got
I was
nothing.
just curious.
You
Nothing
should get a
whatsoever
business
for
card
that.
made that just says Mike Black, Fat
What's-
Lazy Butterfly.
What's that construction worker doing with wings?
Yeah, exactly.
so weird?
I did, however, get the imposter Roadrunner a year later
Oh,
for
wow.
Roadrunner Hi-Fi, where they
High-speed
just
internet?
had me dress in like homemade gear to look like the Warner Brothers Roadrunner.
Right, right.
You're very
Ridiculous costume, but I got to wear rocket skates for that, so that
Oh,
was a lot
awesome.
of
handsome. Oh
fun.
my God.
Did you break anything? Like, I feel if I wore rocket skates, I would fall down and break my ankle.
These were
and my
not
wrist.
actually functional rocket
Oh,
skates.
okay.
They shot sparks out of the back, and they did have to put like flame retardant gel on my legs. And anytime someone's doing that, you're giving them a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
I noticed when you came in today, you're still wearing the flame retardant. I don't know. Is that just it was
that's
a
safety habits. die hard.
post-traumatic commercial syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
All right,
Mike
let-
lives a dangerous lifestyle.
All right, we're gonna do first impressions on cast. Justine Bateman, first impression.
Just adorably beautiful, and I'm going to tell you, and that's not fair. Smart,
Yeah.
smart. That's probably the first impression. But I mean, but you can't get past the very first impression, which is she was gorgeous.
Yeah.
She had a beautiful face, and she was definitely the heartthrob of the series for young men. And I'll tell you,
Yes, we all
We're-
concur.
yeah. Oh, and she's wonderful. And I'll tell you a stupid. You know, people are always asking for stupid backstage stories.
Please.
And we're lucky we didn't pull this on you. That you weren't traumatized, because frequently when people came into the Family Ties studio to watching us rehearse, Justine and I would go into a little act sometimes. And because we were this sweet and wonderful family on television, we'd purposely do the sick, twisted version of
Oh
of
my
that.
God.
Are you saying
And
that you did the aristocrats? Is what you're saying?
Naturally, this was my instigation, but Justine and I would set this up. There'd be people watching, coming through on a tour, and we'd do something, and she'd make some comment, and I'd say, Justine, come on, don't, please. You know, that's stupid. Don't, you know, I'm taking you to task for that. And she'd say, no, don't. And I'd say, "You are not too old for a bare-bottom spanking."
Oh
And she'd
my
say,
God!
"Daddy, no. Daddy, no." And I say, "You're not too old for a bubble bath." She'd say,
Oh my God!
"Please, Dad." And this is like Stephen Keaton and Mallory, right? So we're doing this, and I'd say, she'd say, "No, Daddy, not the bubble bath."
Oh my
So,
God!
I mean, this was so bad.
Oh my God! People must have lost their minds.
Well, I think some of them are still having PTSD because I mean, it's the sort of thing that Cosby did for real.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh my God!
We were being stupid and just pulling pranks in front of the idle viewer, but
Imagine
it was
like if
TMZ
back in
was-
the internet age.
Yeah.
Like
no,
the
no,
spoiler
oh
alerts
no,
would be-
never
oh
get
yeah.
away with that
Sorry,
now.
sorry, yeah, right. No,
my
but I mean,
God.
it was. Justine and I would just do these stupid pranks on people. And say, "No, Daddy," I say, and then I'd lead her off stage, and I go, "Ow, Daddy!" I mean, it was.
Oh
we
my
just-
God!
And Meredith would roll her eyes and go, "There they go again."
Oh my God! That is my favorite thing I've ever
That's
heard.
ridiculous, but that's what we did. You got to have some fun, some
Oh,
silly,
yeah.
stupid fun. Now, Justine, by the way, I think she was not a kid at that point. I think she was 19 or something when the show ended. But so I mean, but those are the sort of stupid pranks we were playing.
I love it. I love it so much. What about
awesome.
what about Tina Yothers? Can we talk
Tina
about
Yothers. Tina Yothers was just an absolute dear. She was a person who had very little experience before then, and a commercial or two, but just as cute as ever. She's now a mother of two, soccer mom herself, and a very dedicated mother. She and I used to get into a lot of trouble together because we were fond of playing last tag or last touch or whatever you call it. The person who touches the one last is the one who wins.
Yeah.
And so before we go home for the day, the idea was to play last tag, and we'd run around the sets and run around, and crash into walls, and in an effort to evade each other, and people would have to yell at us, and it was like. My favorite was before hiatuses, before we go on hiatus for months. Several times I tagged her last, and so she was the loser for the entire hiatus until we got back for the next season.
Amazing.
I carried the winner.
strategizing that whole
Yeah. I was like,
season.
I've got to touch her last before we go home for the season.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So stupid things like that, So Tina, she still resents me for that.
Yeah. Well, what about Meredith? Did you guys meet beforehand?
No, I didn't even know who she was.
And you guys are doing a play together.
We are doing Meredith and I are doing a play together in August at the Totem Pole Playhouse in Pennsylvania. This is a summer stock theater, and we are doing a production of A.R. Gurney's Love Letters. We've done this before. And we're doing it in August.
God.
That's the Totem Pole Playhouse in Pennsylvania, August. Sometime.
Yes.
I forget the exact
check
dates.
that
But
out.
Meredith and I are still great friends. We keep in touch with some regularity. We've done a couple television movies together. Believe it or not, they cast us as husband and wife. Where do they get that
Where
stuff?
do they get
I
these
don't know,
ideas?
Are they sure you two match up well on camera?
Even more bizarrely, the last two times we played together as husband and wife, they've been both times. Get this, Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus. So we can be found around Christmas time on the Hallmark Channel or the Lifetime Channel playing Mr. and Mrs. Santa
I
Claus.
love it.
So we did that a couple years ago. Was our last time we worked together, and so they came to us and said, "Would you like to do this play together?" It's like any excuse to hang out for a couple weeks. We will adore it. Yeah. So Meredith. I mean, naturally, she was she's bright. She's funny. A number of years ago, she came out of the closet. I knew that.
Oh, wow.
I knew that a number of years ago, before it was public. People will frequently ask me, "Did you know Meredith was gay when you were working on the show?" And I said, "Well, quite frankly, Meredith didn't know she was gay when we were doing the show. She was married to David Burney. The divorce took place in the course of that show.
The extremely handsome David Burney.
Extremely handsome David Burney. He took a role from me once upon a time,
That son
but
of
I
a
got
bitch.
his wife. I got him back.
Got his wife.
At any rate, so she didn't know she was gay. That's how long I've been in this business. I knew Meredith Baxter when she was straight. Anyway, so No, Meredith was.
Oh my God.
She was as good a heterosexual as you could find in those days. She had been married. She had been married 3 or 4 times, and I said, Meredith, if you go to get married again, call me so I can stop you. You're obviously picking the wrong men. This is not working out.
Yeah.
Years later, she came to me and she said, I've come out of the closet. And I said, it's not as if you haven't given heterosexuality a try.
Yeah, she gave it her best shot.
Yeah. And anyway, she's wonderful. She's with a partner, Nancy. I attended their wedding a couple of years ago. She and Nancy are going great guns, and I expect to see Nancy there at the Totem Pole Playhouse. She may come out and visit Meredith when we're there. And anyway, I love her to death.
I love it.
She's great. Men will often tell me, I had the hots for her. And I said, look, but she's gay. And I go, wait a minute. If you spend 5 minutes with her, she's still as lovely, as smart, and as funny, and as clever. You would still fall in love with her. I don't care. That wouldn't stop you. You'd be the one to say, I'll bet I can get her to be heterosexual again.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you would just fall in love with her. I mean, what difference does that make? You know, so she's still, I love her to death. We're still good friends.
Sleeping with her probably wouldn't have changed that much.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Average guy running
Can I tell you, you wouldn't have had a chance back in the old days, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. What about Michael? What about Michael J. Fox?
Michael Fox is still going great. I mean, what a wonderful spirit.
What was he like when you met him? Like, what was he?
Michael was just a wonderfully talented, inspired, but 2 feet on the ground kid from Burnaby, British Columbia, which is suburban Vancouver.
Yeah.
His father was a constable there, a cop, basically.
Oh, my God,
A blue-collar family. Michael had done a couple things in Canada, nothing to remember, and family ties found him. And was just, made him. And he helped make us, frankly. He just had something special. Alex was the Fonzie of the 80s, the Alex P. Keaton character.
Was he ever?
Michael was always very humble, very, very wonderful, generous guy, just a lot of fun to be around. And I don't see him as regularly as I used to because, among other things, he lives... The center of his life is 3,000 miles away in New York City.
Course, yeah.
The center of my life is still in Los Angeles, where I met and married a wife and have children, grandchildren now. Yeah. So when I'm in New York, I try to look him up. My wife and I think the last time we saw him was November of last year when we were in New York to see some other friends. I haven't been in New York since November of 2016, and he was doing quite well. We met for breakfast, and Michael was, as is often, you're going to ask me the same thing people are doing because he's had so much to do with the Michael J. Fox Parkinson's Foundation and so much a spokesperson for that particular disease. People will say, how's Michael doing? How's Michael doing? I go to Michael and say, Michael, what do I tell them? Because it's one of the most frequent questions. He says, tell him I'm doing fine, which is, of course, part of Michael's spirit. He's always doing fine because for him the glass is always half full. And in fact, he was doing marvelously well the last time I saw him because he was on some new medication, which he said was really stabilizing him marvelously well.
That's wonderful.
Came on his own, walked over to the restaurant where we commonly meet for breakfast, and he was looking great. And
he was on Howard Stern about 3 or 4 years ago, and he gave this answer that I really loved in an interview because Howard asked him, he's like, having Parkinson's, like, do you feel that limits your possibilities in acting now? And he's like, no, I can still play anything I want. I can play an astronaut. I can play a race car driver as long as they have Parkinson's. I can play that guy.
Hilarious.
Right.
No, like that just sort of seems like his attitude where he's like, I'll do anything. Just let me do it.
Michael he's never forgotten his origins. He's never forgotten who he is, where he comes from, and which is a very solid place. His mother's still alive, lives in Vancouver. He says, I try to buy her a bigger house. He's like, no, Michael, this is fine. She's like in the old neighborhood. And I'll tell you one other thing. He's got a sister who's one of the great treasures of Canadian theater.
Wow.
She's a wonderful. She's a wonderful actress who works a lot in the Shakespeare Festival in Ontario and the Great Lakes Shakespeare Festival, and she's anyway. Kelly Fox is her name, and she's a wonderful stage actress.
Well, something that I noticed about the show. I mean, you did 171 episodes of that show.
Wow, was it that many? I remember. Yeah, okay.
It's a lot. It's a lot of episodes. Like over the time of doing that many episodes, how did you feel the network handled you guys? Did you feel personally like you were well taken care of by them? Did you feel like that's always something that I feel like when you were on a series for such a long time, then they added a character like later in the show. They brought in
a boyfriend they brought in a child.
They brought in Brian Bonsall,
right?
And
they brought in
Mark Price.
Mark Price, who was Skippy, who was there for a great many years. But these were people who really augmented the family and brought out the best in the family. First of all, I think we were treated very well. There was a lot of trust in those days by the network. Grant Tinker was one of the main guys there. He just passed away this last year. He was a marvelous guy, They trusted Gary David Goldberg, who was the executive producer. Gary David Goldberg went back a number of years with people like Grant Tinker, and they basically kept their hands off. They weren't as hands-on manipulative. It's like, you got to do this, and you got to do that, and what about this? And I remember here's a classic story about Gary David Goldberg. Unfortunately, the late Gary David Goldberg, who passed away about 5 years ago. Gary, somebody called and said there's somebody in the network saying it was calling you on the phone. You want to take this call? They said, no, I don't want to talk to anybody from the network. They said, but they're telling you how great the show was last night and how much they loved it and how high the numbers were. He said, if I take this call today telling me how great the show was and how high the number was, next week I'm going to have to take the call about how bad the show was and how low the numbers were. And he says, I'm not taking either call.
Wow.
And they ultimately they let him do that. And the network basically let him have a great deal of autonomy. They trusted him. They trusted where the show was. I don't know where you necessarily find that anymore, but it was a great thing to have in those days. And Gary said, you keep your distance, I will produce a great show. Just don't hawk me. Don't come after me all the time with little tweaks. Let me do it. We'll figure it out. Well, you've got a hit show, leave us alone.
And
they did. And they did. It was wonderful.
You know what's so crazy is still to this day, when I was a kid, my family, my mom sat me down and she was like, you shouldn't drink. Drinking is really dangerous. Being out. I want you to watch an episode of this show. It's going to be on tonight. I read it in the TV guide, and it's all about drinking and being abusive with drinking and drugs. And it was the Tom Hanks episode.
Oh yeah.
Of Family Ties, and it locked into my brain for the rest of my life. Like, I was like, wow, like this is what happens when you.
That's how I learned that extract has alcohol in it.
Really?
Like from that episode, because he drinks
he was
like
drinking vanilla extract.
And I was like, oh, that has booze in it? I didn't know. And
that alcohol. And they had a way of making it funny. The guy going into the spice cabinet to get the vanilla extract.
Oh, right.
They keep keeping it funny, but dealing with some serious things.
Yeah.
And a lot of people to this day will say, I learned how to be a father on Family Ties. Yeah. I learned how families can stay together under difficult times in Family Ties. It was extraordinary for its time, and who knew we were going to be part of television history? That having been said, I'll mention one other thing. When we stepped on the Paramount Studios lot in 1982, I had no idea it was almost the golden age of the end of the sitcom, because Taxi was there.
Yeah.
Happy Days was there. Joni Loves Chachi.
Oh, wow.
Was there. Laverne and Shirley was there. We shared a lot with these people. And I remember, asking advice of Henry Winkler, who was just, a couple doors away in a dressing room. How do you deal with all this? I'd actually known Henry because he was a year or two ahead of me at the Yale School of Drama.
Amazing.
Right? The Fonz, right? So I had known him at Yale, and but I re-met him on the Paramount lot years later. I said, Henry, how do you deal with? I mean, you can't. Where do you go? How do you? He gave me some. He was just wonderful, saying, how do you deal with going anywhere?
It's a lot.
He was Anyway, Henry's a sweetheart, and you just how do you do this thing?
God, and then they used Family Ties too to launch a ton of other shows. Like there are so many shows that came after and that were. Did you kind of notice that they would just they'd go, all right, now we're going to do Growing Pains. Now we're going to do Step by Step.
Right,
right. And then, but not all of them were great. None of them
and
were.
Times have changed. There's a Modern Family now, which shows modern American families and families. I think families were always some families who were non-traditional, but we didn't see them on television.
Sure. Right.
And that's the beauty of I think that's why television for many people is still a far more intimate medium than is major motion pictures.
Absolutely.
Because they're in your home and they're living very much like you. There's an intimacy about television that's it's hard to beat.
Well, we got to jump to because we're coming down to the end, but we have to talk about Tremors, one of the coolest. So damn cool, one of the coolest movies ever, and you've done now 6 of them, and the 6th one is coming out soon.
Burt Gummer is the gift that just keeps giving.
God, isn't it, man?
Yeah,
How
no, it's been a lot of fun. And
did you think that in the first one?
Nobody thinks. No, I didn't think for the pilot of Family Ties this was going to go anywhere. You, as an actor, you learn to simply be. I think the word is despondent. You say this is not going anywhere, but I've got a job today. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you never think it's luck and fickle fate and all these sorts of other things that take over. Tremors was just a lot of fun. What was most meaningful for me was I was on Tremors, the set of Tremors, within days of our wrap party of the final season of Family Ties.
Oh, God.
And so for me, it answered the question, would there be life after Family Ties? Mm-hmm. Yes, and in a very different sort of character, thank God, because I was I always call myself, Cosby at that time was the most famous father in America. Right. We were usually running second, so I would say, well, I was the most famous Caucasian father in America.
Sure, yeah.
America's favorite Caucasian father. At any rate, but it proved that I could, and a classic liberal, and so to play this paranoid, survivalist, gun-toting Burt Gummer with a real edge, a chip on his shoulder about the government and life and people treating him unfairly and the Armageddon to come. Stephen Keaton was all the glasses half full, with Burt the glasses half empty.
Glass is broken.
Yeah, right. Well, the glass is full, but it's cyanide. Right. It's something you can't drink. Right. It's poison.
I love that, and I love that he turns out to be kind of right.
Right.
He was preparing for disaster, and disaster shows up.
Life is dangerous, right. So 27 years later, we just made the 5th sequel to Tremors, which will be out, I'm not sure exactly when. It's in the editing room now. I was finished in South Africa filming this about a month ago. One other thing I should talk about is actually there's something to be released the 18th of April.
Yes.
On video on demand and video HD. It's something called Last Call at Murray's.
Yep,
this is an independent film I've done.
And this looks awesome. This looks like it was a total blast.
It's a comic romance bit of craziness with a wonderful ensemble cast, wonderful people in this piece, and I
have it pulled up right now.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. This is so fun. Oh my God. This is a huge cast.
Well, it's a huge cast, and it's a bunch of people who get marooned in a bar, Murray's Bar, on the last night of its operation, in a snowstorm. And it's one of these out of the way places where this is the only business in town that's still open.
Where did you go to shoot this?
We actually shot this out in the valley somewhere. So this was shot it's basically all interior. Not with the exception of a few little places interior in a bar, and so it's a great, just a wonderful cast, and it's just a lot of fun because it's about romance in a lot of ways.
hold for 1 second. My phone is not pulling it up, and I need to be able to see the cast. Will you pull it up, buddy? I'm so sorry. I tried. I'm trying to click on it, and it's.
Dare you,
I know.
Stephen. We try to run a professional podcast.
We
Everyone
really do.
shows up. Your phone looks like it's been through a hockey.
That's
match,
it. I'm out of here.
Oh my God! Is there?
Press the delete button.
Yeah.
This is coming to an end. This phone.
Jeez, come on.
So while they're scrambling through that,
Yes.
I vividly remember seeing the first Tremor in theaters.
Yeah.
And the applause that happened when you revealed the elephant gun.
Yeah. You remember that?
There was a vivid, loud applause when you revealed that's what you were pulling out. What was it like seeing that thing for the first time?
I'm going to tell you, it was such fun. Because I went to see it. John Savage, by the way, is in Last Call. We'll mention that. John Savage of The Deer Hunter, The Onion Fields. John, was the problem with that. Universal Studios never quite knew how to market that thing.
the film,
They
right.
marketed it as a straight horror film, which
Yeah.
people didn't get. It was like Naked Gun is not.
It was closer in tone to like RoboCop, where it was kind of like a
tongue-in-cheek,
little bit of a parody,
It's
but still pretty legit.
Yeah, right.
As far as the
These
action.
monsters could really kill you. There was real danger there, but it was quirky.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people didn't see it first run. It really found its audience in the aftermarket videos.
Yeah.
And but if you want to continue, we're good anytime. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. All right, so we have to talk about this movie, Last Call at Murray's. This looks like such a fun piece of work, man, and what a blast! I mean, Linda Palmer, such a terrific director, and really, of what I've heard, really fun to work with. How was she for you?
Well, she was wonderful. She's one of the reasons I did this piece, because I'd worked with Linda on a much heralded short film, which went to a lot of festivals. It was a 20-minute film about a man with dementia. I played this role.
Sure.
Something called Our Father, and it was just an exceptional piece that she had written, a very personal piece to her. And I wanted to play this role because I had lived with someone who had dementia for 10 years. I was a caregiver to my mother-in-law for 10 years who lived in our home. And so this was a very personal thing for me. It was a great piece. And when she came along with Murray's, this was truly a labor of love. It was a great sort of hard-bitten character. Murray, the guy who owns the bar. And I said, yeah, I'd love to play this. And a cast of 14, including John Savage, who some of you may know from
Savage.
The Deer Hunter and
Oh,
The
my
Onion Field,
God.
among other things.
Yeah, and lots of great actors. I'm seeing Lars Slind is in there, and Rachel Gage, Shauna Malcolm. Lots of really fun. Joe Hart.
Eileen Gruba is a name you're going to hear more about. She's a wonderful actress. Jerry Kernian, Alina Madison, wonderful people. Paula Jai Parker. Some great people in there, and
such a good time.
so it's an ensemble piece where everybody has their moment. That's why they've attracted such a great cast, because every character has his place in this piece. Every character gets some attention and gets their moment. So
that's really cool.
and that'll be available video on demand.
Video on demand. And it'll be
April 18th, I think.
Yeah, and on iTunes
and thereafter.
Oh, people will be grabbing it.
Last Call at Murray's.
That is so cool. So do you want to do are you interested in doing more movies, more Tremors movies? Is that something that's a possibility?
If the fans demand it, sure, that'd be lovely. Because I fell in love with that character. He is a great comic, paranoid, obsessive-compulsive disordered character.
Yeah.
A little like myself.
Hilarious.
Right. So, what's easier than playing me, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, No, it's just he's so wonderfully over the top, and people say, "What do you think? What's the funniest thing about him?" And I say, the fact that he has no sense of humor is one of the funniest things about him.
God,
everything is
best.
deadly serious, and he's just a comic marvel. So I would keep doing that as long as they want me to do it.
All right. Well, before we wrap this up, I've got a little thing that Mike, would you sing it? I think you could sing it, Mike, because you're very good at stuff like this. This is a thing that we like to call deep cuts. You do a little deep cut song.
What am I singing?
Just sing something. Call it deep cuts. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Deep cuts. Deep cuts. We've got some deep cuts, and we have to ask you, deep cuts.
It's very
You
deep.
can do
and
better
cutting.
than that. You can do better
I
than that.
didn't know I was doing anything.
Here we go. We'll do it again. We'll do it again. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Deep cuts. Deep cuts.
We're getting
gonna
really
ask you
deep
questions
and deep,
about
deep,
deep cuts.
cutting very deeply. Go.
You were in a movie called Cool as Ice.
Stop
I
it.
believe. Yes, you were with Vanilla Ice.
Yes.
You better tell me something about being in that movie. 'Cause,
Another cult movie.
I can say something like, "Oh, Michael, you were on Curb Your Enthusiasm. You got to work with Larry David. How was
Yeah,
working
we
with
could have
Larry?"
mentioned Parks and Recreation. I had a nice thing about the elephant gun going.
Yeah,
and
it all
instead
starts-
you want to
No.
hear about.
Vanilla Ice.
Everybody wants to know.
I wanna know.
Everybody wants to. I did not sleep with him, okay? All right, let's get that. That's an ugly rumor that's been going around for years. I did not shave that curve in the side of his head.
Oh, God.
No, he was a wonderful guy. I was looking to do features. I was
Sure.
looking to do features. Somebody said, "Here's this thing.
Yeah.
Give it a try." Playing the father. I don't know that I've seen it. I may have seen it. And that's not because of that particular film. It's because I don't like watching a lot of what I do. Because I've wound up picking it to death and go, Michael, why did you make that choice?
Really?
What's the point? I've probably seen Tremors 1 twice since it was out. Twice
Really?
in 25 years. And that's only to when another sequel comes along, they'll say, "What were you wearing in that first one?" I go, "Well, let me look at my costume." And so I'll go back and run the clips put it in the DVD and say, "Oh yeah, I was wearing that thing on my belt, and I had a knife here, and I had a keychain that unwinds, and blah blah blah."
Yeah,
but I don't usually. I feel like been there, done that, and what can I learn from it?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're a TV and film legend. You're a legendary actor. That is not a. You are a legendary.
Bit of a stretch.
Hey, to me,
All
you're
right,
a
well,
legendary
thank
actor.
you.
All right, I felt the same way since 1987.
And
Okay,
this man has watched Eddie Murphy urinate.
I have seen Eddie Murphy
knows what he's
urinate. I
talking
know what I'm talking about.
seen it all.
Yeah, but you have worked for long periods of time.
I've been fortunate to work on a variety of things. Yeah,
But like, if you have a system, don't mess with it. Like, if you don't feel like you have to go back and watch yourself to do your stuff, to know what you do, then
there's things I could learn that it's like, ooh, you could improve that. I mean, there's always something to learn. It's just there's a part of me that's not interested in watching stuff I've done. Give you just a very quick example.
Of course.
Or not going back. A number of years ago, I was doing my Broadway debut. Well, this is a crazy show, crazy at it. But my Broadway debut was in a play called Bent, and this was in 1979.
I know that.
You
play.
know Bent?
Yes,
okay.
I do.
And I was in this show for exactly 2 weeks after it opened, and people said, what kind of a Broadway contract is that? And I said I had wanted to do something else off Broadway with a director I loved, a man by the name of Joseph Chaikin, who was a incredible director in the off-Broadway world and in the alternative theater world. He's since passed away. I wanted to do this production with him, and I got the call to do Bent at the same time. And my agent said, well, one's an off-Broadway and one's Broadway. You're going to do the Broadway show. I said, no, I want to work with Joe Chaikin off-Broadway.
Yeah.
They said, you're turning down the Broadway show? I said, yeah. They didn't believe it. They kept raising the price. And I said, no, I want to do this other thing. So they liked my audition well enough to say, okay, you can do Bent and then you can leave. Do the run of the short off-Broadway play with this guy and then come back.
Yeah.
So I did Bent for 2 weeks, and my feeling, they said, we can come back now. And I said, yeah, I did it already.
Wow.
You know, I don't want to come back to the Broadway show. I feel as if my work, you know, I did it. What am I going to do? Why 6 months? You know, why repeat myself?
I get it.
So I've always felt that going back was like, what's the point? You know, if you've done something, move on, try something new, challenge yourself in some new way. So,
I love it. I love it.
even
so cool.
even when it means walking away from a Broadway show.
Yeah. Well, you're a wonderful guy. Thank you so much for
Pleasure,
coming
Stephen.
to
Nice
Genghis
to see all
Cohen,
of you
to
here.
our favorite Chinese restaurant. And I think everyone should definitely check out the film. Again, it comes out in April. It's
April
coming out
18th.
April
is
18th.
its,
It's going to be
debut date.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I think
Tremors
people
6 on
Tremors 6 is coming.
Tremors 6. It's yet unnamed. It is the 5th sequel to the original Tremors, so I don't know what they're going to call it yet. For now, it's Tremors 6.
I love it. So Last Call at Murray's. Don't forget to check that out. And then, Michael, do you have any? Do you use any social media at all, or have a website?
Yeah,
or
I
anything like
appreciate that. I have a Facebook page, which is really easy. Facebook.com/actor Michael Gross.
Love it.
Very easy to find.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we'll
for
tag you
mentioning
out
that.
there. Of course. Come on. Mike Black, where can people find you on the internets?
All over social media at Mike Black Attack.
If you
Ooh, I
like
love
you
it.
like action figures, this guy's Instagram
If
got
you're
is
real
photos of him.
nerdy,
yeah.
it's a good place.
He was
to
an
check
action
out.
figure just walking in here today.
He really
Whoa.
he really is.
Okay, yeah, I nearly killed myself on the speaker on the way in.
Hysterical. And Matt, where can people find you?
You can find links to everything at funnymatt.com, or if you are not happy with my work on the show today, please let me know at mattwalkersucks.com.
Yep. And people do, Michael. People
They do.
Real thing.
really do let
Real
him
thing
know.
I have.
Okay.
Yep. And you can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast and leave comments and share it with your friends. Michael, it was an honor having you on. Enjoy
What
the
a pleasure.
Fireball whiskey, and we'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you.
You bet.
Bye-bye.
Destined to